Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Great to see you and happy Wednesday. Wednesday. As you may have noticed, such important news. I have now, my gingerbread character necklace has now been joined by the earrings. That was one of the grand things that came out of this weekend away, going to Concord, Mass. I found these at the TJ Maxx. Nice. Completion, right? Completion of thought, completion of jewelry ensemble. I am properly tacky and corny now, but it is so good to see everybody. Such a great day here today. Nice and bright, but super gray. It feels a bit eerie somehow. I feel kind of in between things. A little bit of a detour with commentary this morning because I have got some sort of obituary news, which is always sad. So I'm going to start the episode out on that note. Celebration, right? Celebration talk. And then we're going to continue on with our conversation on American rugs and carpets. But in the meantime, I want to say good morning and see who's out there. Kirsten, good morning. Happy Wednesday in Vermont. Joy, happy Wednesday in Florida. Great to see you. Jean, happy Wednesday in Colorado. Great to see you. Barbara, thank you so much for your nice messages yesterday. I get such thoughtful messages. I just cannot express how grateful I am when I get such a nice message. You know, I don't always write back. I don't always write back quickly. I don't always write back at all. I drop the ball often. But you have to know that I so appreciate the messages I get. I always see them and I always read them. Sometimes I am wavering between franticness and insanity, one foot on the edge of the abyss and the other on a banana peel. And sometimes the ball just drops and travels quite far before I catch it again. But thank you so much, Barbara. I really appreciated that. Crystal, good to see you. Brrr, it's cold in Nova Scotia, huh? Oh, I can't wait. I hope things go well this winter. I'm so worried. I was chatting with Kirsten earlier. We were talking about, we were talking about expectations around the holidays, and it's such a thing, isn't it? To just get yourself so revved up and feeling like you want to do that crazy laundry list of things that you do want to do if you're celebrating the holidays. And it's always disappointing. It's bound to be disappointing. It's like setting yourself up for disaster and disappointment because there's so many things. And even this year when I started literally before Halloween, I'm right at the threshold now, and it's like I so wished that I had done a little more with historic houses. There's beautiful outdoor lantern thing in Mystic Village, which is one of our outdoor historic recreation museums. There's also something at Plymouth Plantation, Sturbridge. There's all kinds of events going on. I know there's at least 2 tunnel of lights I need to drive through with the kids. And it's just, we're hot on the heels at this point. I'm right there. So it's always that kind of a setup. And it's so hard to control your schedule, to control, where you're headed and to be happy with where you are during these high expectation times. I hope that you're managing it better than I am. I'm trying very, very hard. And I am really failing this year. But on the plus side, it seems that the kids are very happy. So that part of it is okay. I think, like most people, like Kirsten said, we tend to have very unrealistic expectations of how much one can get done or should even attempt to get done, right? But it is coming. But in any case, I was thinking, Crystal, that I had said to Kirsten, can't believe I haven't seen the Rockefeller tree. And she said, maybe not be the best thing to go into the center of Manhattan right now anyway, with things what they are and the sort of climate of change and you know what. So I thought that's a very good thought, because I also didn't go last year for the same reason. Missed the Rockefeller tree 2 years in a row. That is like physically painful to me, to miss taking the kids down there at this age to see that tree and to see the skaters and the inevitable marriage proposals that happen on the ice every 30 seconds. But it's true. It's just a different time right now, and it can be a bit of a downer. And I'm hoping that everything levels out and everybody behaves themselves, and that life is normal again. Because we were doing quite well for a while in the spring. Because I want to come to Nova Scotia. That's where this whole story was going. I hope it's clear sailing and skating and all of that, getting to a better place through what could be a sketchy winter. Linda, good to see you in New Jersey. Sunny morning. You lucky duck. You got the sun over there. Beverly, good to see you. Windy Washington. No snow, but cold. Beverly, I hate to even ask, but can you send me some pictures of those penny rugs? Beverly's working on some like small size, sort of coastery size, right? Mug rug size penny rugs, and they're so beautiful and they're so well done. I'm working on mine too. Can't show it, but you'll hopefully see it soon. Book project. But Beverly, I would love to see more photos if you can of those penny rugs, because that is the chapter I'm working on right now, the writing part. Lisa, great to see you. Lisa, thank you for the information on Margaret. I'm gonna, sorry, Ellen Margaret. I'm going to do that in just a second. We really appreciate you notifying me. Catherine, great to see you in Arizona. April, good to see you. Catherine Perez, great to see you too. I'm tripping myself up here. Dave, good afternoon. You got a haircut and booster appointments booked. Whoa, it's all coming together, isn't it? Got the coffee perking too, I hope, right? It's all coming together. That sounds perfect. Barbara says, if your kids are very happy, keep it simple. Yeah. You know, it's true. Keep it simple if they're happy, but I have this thing where I think, but had they but known there was another tunnel of lights, they would not have been satisfied with two. That kind of thing. Like, had they but known there was another corn maze, they're going to four this year, it probably wasn't enough. And I enjoy it so much too. That's the thing. I enjoy it so much this whole season. It's hard to pick and choose the things that you have the time for and the things you don't have the time for. This is such a busy time this year. I hope this never repeats itself the way that it has this year. This has played out in a very helter-skelter kind of a way without the lovely faces of the Beatles to accompany it. Crystal says Nova Scotia will always be here. That's true. That's true. But Hetty Van Gerp's exhibit won't, and that's why I'm so keen to go in May, because that's opening up, and I really want to meet her and see those beautiful rugs that will be there at the Rug Hooking Museum. Fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes. Debbie, good to see you. It's rainy in New York. Oh dear. Oh dear. I can't believe how far along we are in December. I just was working on the text for a beginner class, a beginner rug hooker class at the end of January, the beginning of the new year. And it's the one that I mentioned yesterday. It's going to be a mandala, the circles that you make, class for beginners. Anybody can take it, but it is going to come with backing, tracing paper, Sharpie, fiber tape, and a big, huge bag of enough colorful wool strips to complete the mandala. And the idea is to get start the new year off centered pretty well without getting all new agey, which I'm really not. Centered well, and bring it back to you in the new year, because at this time of year, it is so easy with giving and presents and all of those nice things that we love to do and we should do and we always do. It's nice to get back to yourself at the beginning of the new year and ground yourself. Get your footing again. That's what my intention is, and I think doing this mandala project is going to help with that. It's going to be a great abstract project for beginners who have not hooked at all, who want something that's not expensive with a kit. And the class, I'm going to run it on a Wednesday and a Sunday, as I often do. And it even will include that experience of drawing something simple, being walked through it, like absolutely walked through it, and then transferring it onto your backing and then getting going with the beginnings of our hooking. So it'll be a 3-hour class. I think that makes the most sense. We can always revisit again later. I'll get back into doing the live Zooms in the new year where we can get together and ask questions and all that stuff. And because hopefully all my deadlines will be passed and I can cool it a little bit. But I think it'll be a nice beginner class. And again, the abstract element, the idea that mandala, the center of it is you yourself, and everything around it is whatever you've created or whatever you're hoping for in the new year. So I think it's a good one to start off with. And I've kept with this class because I know so many people who still consider themselves beginners. I consider none of you beginners, even if you are a beginner. But I know a lot of people who consider themselves beginners who are likely to sign up for the class already have like a frame and a hook. So I separated that part of the kit, including the expense of it. I backed that right out. And I have that for the first time as an add-on, offering like a basic hook and a basic hoop for an extra 18, which I think is great because at least it gets you started before the whole conversation about expensive supplies and what else do I want, what else do I need, and all that stuff. I think it just keeps it streamlined and basic for true beginners. So hopefully that's a class that will appeal to a lot of people. The few Christmas crackers left, I'm trying to get rid of those because Erin did tons of them. I bought all those extras, you know. I probably overshot the number. I always do. I always do. But I didn't want to fall short, you know, people being disappointed with not getting the Christmas crackers. And also bingo this week on Friday, so make sure you have your cards printed by Friday. I will be invisible tomorrow. I'm going to put my head down and work on the 2 orders that are on my table and work on book project. And then I will reappear like a crazy jack in the box on Friday night for our bingo night. And it will be the holiday/winter theme. It'll be so nice to be together looking at holiday themed festive rugs. And playing bingo at the same time, winning some money, I hope. So that'll be a lot of fun. We can do that together on Friday. I think that's it for now. Oh, the Klimt class, Designing Like Klimt, that's also there on ribbon candy hooking. Hopefully some of these things are in the description of this video if you don't watch every day and you want to check out some of this. Also, gift cards and all that are possible too. So, yeah, any big orders that come in at this point, any large kits or anything like that that involve even me driving over to Erin's to hand over tons of fabric and cutting and stuff, we're getting right down to the teeth, right? I mean, it's like really, it's Christmas is what I mean. So if you're ordering stuff that's for Christmas, we are right there at the not sure it's going to make it point. So gift cards are great. The things that are on my table will go out, but anything new coming in that's a large order that's not immediately in stock, it's right there. I mean, I can't do what Amazon can do, even with the help of one person. Not a great to see you. Good morning from clear and cold San Francisco Bay Area, waiting for the next much needed rain. Oh man. Looking forward to bingo, Barbara. Oh, Nada, I hope you get your rain. I do. I hope I didn't miss anybody logging on. So, you know, Lisa, thank you so much. You know, I just finished saying I'm so grateful to everybody who's in touch. So many people are in touch from so many different places. I started chatting, I think last night or the night before, with somebody called Anthony Petit or Petit, Belgian. He's a Dutch speaking Belgian man, obviously. And there's such a small amount of Belgium that speaks Dutch, right? But you remember I was born in the Netherlands and I lived there for a lot of my grown-up life. And my Dutch is not good, but he does very original and unique latch, right? People coming from all over the place these days, and I wanted to use it in the book project because there's a lot of commercial latch out there, and that is great. There's nothing wrong with it, but I was hoping to use pieces that were more original and I don't want to say more special. It's all special, but you know what I mean. So I got in touch with him, and I've been able to practice my Dutch a little bit, which who needs it anyway? I mean, nobody speaks Dutch except the Dutch and the people in this very small part of Belgium. But the point is there are people logging on from all over the place, and everybody is so friendly, so helpful, so positive, enthusiastic, and forthcoming, and I really appreciate it. Lisa was kind enough last night to let me know that this obituary had appeared online for Ellen Margaret Jacobs. And the reason we're talking about this sweet woman who passed away at 102 years and 8 months and 8 days old is because she was the great-granddaughter of Magdalena E.B. Breiner. And we talk about her all the time. Legendary rug hooking royalty. So I wanted to, in case, you know, we've spoken about, let me show you, Ellen, my printer is about to crap out again, both inks. Thanks, Amazon, right? How much do these inks cost? How do you get around this insane expense? But not a good picture because of my printer. But here she is, lived to a ripe old age. Fantastic, but always sad news, of course. So there is an obituary, I struggle with that word, page up. And, you know, and it includes remembrances and tributes and things like that. So I was reading it a little bit last night. It was very, very moving and very, very sweet. I didn't see anybody on the page writing about her great-grandmother. Why would they? Of course, they're writing about her. I just think this amazing legacy and that this was so much a part of her life. From what I've read about her, it was so much a part of her life. So Ellen was born April 1st, 1919 in Bound Brook, New Jersey to Grace Rhoda and William Michael Greene. She graduated from New Bloomfield High School in 1936 and the Carlisle Commercial College. In the past and present, Ellen was a member and volunteered for many organizations in the central Pennsylvania region. Among these were the Order of the Eastern Star. That's the female counterpart to the Masons. And I know that because my dad was a Mason. The Capital City chapter, Zembo Usherettes. I don't know what that is. It sounds very lively and razzle dazzle. Dauphin Middle Paxton Lions Club, Dauphin Middle Paxton Historical Society, lots of historical societies, senior societies. The Kittatinny Rebecca Lodge. Now, the Rebecca Lodge is the counterpart to what? That I don't know. I ought to know that, shouldn't I? Where she was a past noble grand. That, I mean, I know my dad at one time was the, what do they call it in the Masons? I think worshipful master. Sounds very Fred Flintstone, right? But it was such an honor, and for him a pleasure to fill that role during that time. So mysterious. If he had lived longer, I'm sure that I would have joined the Eastern Star just because I love joining. I love groups. I love these historic groups. I love the mystery behind the closed door, right? So she was involved in all kinds of things. The American Cancer Society. She was a hospital volunteer. She was all over the place. St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Harrisburg. Past Deacon of Hope at the Presbyterian Church in Dauphin. She loved making Easter eggs and Christmas candy for her church and visiting her friends in the fellowship room after Sunday services. That is one of the best parts of church, really. So nice. She was devoted to her family and cherished her family visits immensely. She loved delivering meals on wheels and helping people in need. Ellen enjoyed traveling to and living in faraway places like Alaska. She enjoyed playing pinochle. I don't know this one, I have to say. Pinochle with her card club. There's a clue. Reading, Bible study, gardening, especially her beloved roses. Taking rides to see the leaves change in the fall, oh God, and flowers bloom in the spring. A favorite pastime was walking around the block, chatting with friends and neighbors and watching the birds on the bird feeder. She did not appreciate the bird seed robbing squirrels and bears, but she loved to watch their antics. This is just too sweet, isn't it? Her husband of 69 years, Cyrus Jacobs, passed away on January 16th, 2008. They were married in Westminster, Maryland, and then it talks about her surviving family, 3 sons, obviously lots of grandchildren. Just it goes on a bit, but sounds like she was just such a sweet gem of a lady, right? I hope that there are people like this in this future generations coming up, right? This kind of giver, joiner, right? Pinochle, thank you. I thought so. She was involved with so much, Lisa says. I mean, I'm sure this is just scraping the surface. It was like an endless list of organizations and groups that she was involved in. So I felt I had to also print out the article that I know we've looked at before, that we must look at again. And there, of course, is Ellen in the middle. Let me make sure we're in focus here because this is important. There we go. She's holding up the Magdalena rug that she donated. So let me share this article with you in case you didn't catch it the first time. See the gumdrop trees, right? Absolutely beautiful. The oversized crow or blackbird, duck, and who's in the other corner? Oh, another duck, maybe like a white duck and a mallard type duck. Absolutely extraordinary rug. So Landisburg, Pennsylvania, the family of Magdalena Bryan Eby, I always reverse that, in the years of Magdalena's life, 1832 to 1915, internationally known folk artist whose hooked rugs are found in famous galleries and collections, have donated the last remaining hooked rug owned by the family to the Historical Society of Perry County, where Magdalena was from. With this donation, the rug will remain in the county where Magdalena lived and worked. It was important to her family that the rug remain local, both to honor her and to allow the residents of this area to see this important example of her work. In this photo are Greg Jacobs, the great-great-grandson of Magdalena, Ellen Jacobs, the great-granddaughter of Magdalena, who incidentally just turned 100, so this was 2 years ago, and Deborah Smith, who is the editor of Rug Cooking Magazine, of course, and also a resident of Perry County, Pennsylvania, and a fan of Magdalena, a big fan of Magdalena. The rug will be on display at the Blue Ball Tavern Museum, comma, Little Buffalo State Park, Newport, Pennsylvania. Lisa, do you know if that's still the case 2 years later, if it's still there? I tried to research this article late last night and I couldn't get any further than this one entry. Um, let's see, Magdalena is honored another way in Perry County in 2011. A partnership between the Tuscarora State Forest and Rug Hooking Magazine led to a facsimile of this particular Magdalena rug being painted on the utility building in the Tuscarora State Forest. How fantastic! I didn't know that. This building is a short distance from where Magdalena lived as a newlywed and where the Eby family cemetery is located. The painted hooked rug is part of the National Quilt Trail. Fantastic! Which features quilts painted on the sides of barns and other buildings. For more information on Magdalena. So yeah, this is a wonderful article too. Absolutely worth seeing and worth showing. That's our connection, Ellen in the middle. So you can look at that page, pay tribute. That rug is big. So this is a big, even for Magdalena, this is a larger rug. A rug came up in auction recently. I have to do a video of the Magdalena rugs that just came and went. I attempted to bid on them. There's like no way on earth I was going to get any of them. But there's one, it wasn't in the group that came up in the past month. There was a really large rug that was sofa sized. If you Google it, Magdalena rug, there's an enormous rug that went to auction somewhat recently. I missed it. I don't know if it was, after I had some awareness of Magdalena and would have looked for it. Certainly, I mean, I would have bid on it, but it would have been a drop in the puddle, compared to where it went, the drop in the ocean. But that was enormous. That was like enormous. It had me wondering how many like sacks and did she piece together, or did she actually have some excessively large piece of burlap to work with. It was extraordinary how big it was, like sofa painting size, Interesting. And Lisa says, yes, that rug is still there. I visited about 3 months ago. It's under lock and key. Perfect. That's just the way it should be, isn't it? So yeah, the robots are playing with us again too, but they're not doing anything too naughty yet. So sad news about Ellen, but Lisa, thank you so much for passing that on. I do consider anybody related to the family rug hooking royalty. And it is so, I think, nice and important, especially on our show where we talk a lot about the history of rug hooking, to make a milestone out of these events, happy events and sad events, right? Because it's all part of our story too. So thank you so much. So switching gears rather uncouthly back to the happiness of stenciled floors. Yesterday, Karen brought up the great point about the floor cloths, right? Like the painted floor cloths. So we left off yesterday talking about like 1700s, mid 1700s, 1780s, that kind of era painted floors. And we're about to cross over to the next evolution, which is the rug. But I think we're having fun, maybe a little too much fun, on this subject, which is the alternate floor before rugs were put down in the U.S., right? Early years, settlement years, right? So in this chapter, again, this is the book that I'm looking at, American Rugs and Carpets by Helene Von Rosenstiel. It is sad news. It is sad news that the little write-up there just choked me up. It's just so nice to know. It's nice in a heartwarming, heart-wrenching way to read about someone's life who was so involved in church, travel, gardening, other people, walks around the neighborhood. It's just, you just don't get that anymore, right? We always talk about how there just isn't that walk around the neighborhood. There isn't the front porch anymore. You got the back deck now. And it's just a different world, And it wasn't that long ago that the other world was like the only world. And now we've got this, well, outside forces aside and like modern problems and COVID, I hate to say it because I'm afraid the video gets pulled aside, it's just become a crazy world, hasn't it? Very unfriendly and anonymous world. We're doing our part, right? Getting together this way at least to bridge that. But this book talks a lot about stencils, early stencils. So we crossed over and touched on Edward Sands Frost yesterday, because how could we not when we use the word stencils on a rug hooking show? She does a really good job in this book of showing us early colonial stencils, early American stencils. As I mentioned yesterday, because Kirsten, there's another girl on from Vermont yesterday, I know that there's a book, because I have it, just on Vermont stencils, and I bet there's a lot of these people who have, over the years, particularly the late 20th century, put together great compilations of stencils that you can use not only for painting your floors and walls, but creating rug designs, using them right exactly, literally translating them the way that they are onto your backing and using them as a rug design. What a wonderful tribute to history. What an easy, straightforward design for a beginner to get a hold of. What a great idea, right? Just an easy, great idea. Staples or the local library can help you blowing stuff up or down, and then you're just transferring it. You don't even have to think about fiber tape or red dot or whatever, light boxes if you're a true beginner. You just cut them out and use them as templates, as actual stencils, and trace around them with a Sharpie. And there you are, right? So there's a lot of this kind of talk in this book. Catherine says California is back to wearing masks starting today. I think Connecticut as well. Well, certainly our town in Connecticut is. And I am great with that. That is fine for me. I would rather wear a mask than be in the ground. I know I can be a bit extreme on this subject, but particularly with the two kids, though they are vaccinated, I am fine with it. If they tell me that there's another disease that comes up, next year, God forbid, and they say, you know what, you might grow horns and a tail off your tailbone. You can maybe join the circus if other things don't work out. Here's the vaccine. We don't know anything about it. I'm still going to say, give it to me. Let's take a shot, because the alternative is pretty grim, and I don't like the way it's going. Soapbox over. So talking about the stenciled floor, which is a big part of the backstory, right? We will be putting rugs down on floors, but the stenciled floor will imitate in this time, and I know we covered this way back when, it will imitate popular floor treatments of the time, like in grand houses, marble, right? Checkered tiles, anything that would be on the floor, any fancy wood, expensive wood, mature trees, hard grains, this kind of thing, it would imitate them. But trompe l'oeil painting, however they could, they would imitate it. And this goes back to that idea that we started off with on Monday, that coming to a new continent, there were people who had rugs with them in cargo. There were people who had worked on rugs as apprentices and knew how they were made. And there were people who had neither of those things, but just had the idea of what other people had. And those people, that's most, right? Those people are going to be the people who really drive the trends and the fashions. It's weird to think of like 17th century America as having trends, but it did, right? Everybody wanted the same things, the nice things, right? And the people who didn't have any of them were the most painfully aware of what they were, right? When you have somebody who comes in and does the whole thing for you, you're hardly aware of what's going on around you. You're not noticing a thing. But when you don't have it, right, you absolutely notice. It's like how school works when you're a little kid. The kids who are older than you, they have no idea who you are or who your friends are, 1, 2, 3 grades lower, but you know who every kid is who's older than you. You know their names, you know their brothers, you know what street they live on, what their mom looks like, what car she drives, when they get picked up. You know everything, don't you? Because it's just the way it works. It's human nature. Corey says, I really appreciate that you address beginners. I always feel so included. You are so included. You are so included. And Corey, even people who have been doing this for years still feel like beginners all the time. And particularly when we move on to something new, like we've been introducing Proddy lately, penny rugs, right? Beverly got going on penny rugs again. I know you were already on that before and you're back into it. There's so many things within our rug making that come and go and cross over that we are all beginners, from one time or another. And certainly, even when you're not a beginner, I have so many projects. Working on this book has been proof to me. Nobody is, I don't know anybody who's perfect. I don't know about you. If you do, you're very lucky. I'm certainly not. And half of the things that I try to do are like fit for a dumpster fire because they're so bad. Like I just completely derail, screw up, make stupid mistakes, amateur mistakes. It happens, right? It happens to everybody. So whether you are a beginner in terms of chronology or not, it's just good to be reminded what the basics were because we will all goof up profoundly on almost every project. It's just, again, human nature, isn't it? So, all right, so let's move on. I'm moving so slow. So, lots of nice illustrations. You know, she's showing beautiful um, illustrations of floors and designs that are, she's referencing Mystic, Connecticut, which is very close to me here, Nantucket, another one of my favorite places. The kinds of floors that people had in fairly wealthy houses, you know, seaside communities, fishing, later whaling, mills, right? Mill builders, mill owners, all this kind of stuff. And then she gets into a conversation about more sort of paint, um, simulating parquet with paint, right? If you can't afford to do it, you simulate it with paint, and actual parquet floors, and the kinds of people who would be able to acquire these kinds of floors under their feet, right? Tara says, I learn something new with every project. Absolutely. And that's the way to look at it, isn't it? Because I look at it like, let me see if I can destroy it with my hands and scissors and then bring it to the driveway and drive over it a few times. But people who are more mature and normal will say, you know, this is a good learning moment, isn't it? 2022, I hope, is the year that I can get my head into that sort of train of thought. Maybe the mandala will help, right? Corey says, I have hooked 3 noodles so far on the kiss. I'm on your way. You are well on your way. You are now a hooker because it's basically pulling up loops forever. That nothing is going to change. You're just going to pull up more loops. So you are well into it at this point. Truly, I'm not joking. So, oh, wait a minute. There's a legend here. Let me back up a little bit because we don't want to miss a legend. Keep an eye on the time too. So, interesting. So, okay, several of the floors in Nantucket, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Interesting. So she talks for a moment about several floors, painted floors that are in Nantucket. Um, and this is, no, they're not showing one of them yet. I think she's about to. In other coastal towns, they were found in the 1930s, so they were uncovered. Maybe carpeting was covering them, or another layer of floor was covering them. But they were found in the 30s, and they bore genre paintings painted on the floor. One was like A Child with a Dog by Abby Aldrich Rockefeller, and it's now in a folk art collection. There were similar designs that were done that were scenes and people, right? So not just shapes and geometrics. And it said that the legend was that in the house on Nantucket, where some of these extraordinary floor paintings were found, that the owner of the house suffered from asthma and believed that he would be unable to sleep in a room that contained any carpeting. So he provided a substitute for the floor and his peace of mind. That's a quote. So interesting, right? So people who have superstition is a big thing at this point. It still is, and for many people in many places, I'm very superstitious, and I know it's silly and foolish, but it gets you, doesn't it? It trips you up sometimes. So people feeling like they have allergies or there's some kind of a wellness issue with having a lot of fiber inside the house are going to move more toward the painted floors. I thought that was so interesting. And then another reference to, remember on Monday or Tuesday we talked about the spattered floor, right? And the closest thing in rug hooking that we can get to that spattered paint floor is the confetti rack, right? Which we've looked at many times, where you see in the background, in a big open background, just a piece of a noodle, a third of a noodle, a tenth of a noodle, 2 or 3 or 5 little loops in a row, all wiggly niggly, like under a microscope, like a little thing traveling and growing under a microscope. Crazy small amounts of color in the background splotched out in a pointedly irregular manner. That's confetti, right? That's confetti in the background of a rug. Before that, we were looking at splotched and splattered painted floors. So she says spatter painted floors, which use drops of random colored paint on a solid colored background, have been considered a colonial form until the 1930s, when Esther Stevens Fraser, who extensively researched painted and stenciled floors, commented that she had, quote, yet to see traces of a really ancient spatter floor. If spatter dates prior to 1840, it is strange that we have not encountered earlier traces of it. She suspected that spatter floors originated in the Victorian era, the beginning of the Victorian era, the 1840s, right? Painted floors continue in use throughout the 19th century. Freehand painted and stenciled carpet patterns began to disappear as real carpets. And by carpets, she means, remember, because she already defined this for us, wall to wall. right? Not rugs that you can pick up and move around, but wall to wall, as real carpets became more widely available. Now, this is going to be one of the things that shifts this conversation, that puts it on a parallel, right? It goes right off the rails and onto a parallel track. Because as soon as we hit the American Industrial Revolution, not the UK, but the American Industrial Revolution, we're talking about mills and factories opening, and people, us being able as Americans to buy carpets, wall-to-wall carpets, and very large rugs, right? That would literally almost fill the room. And as soon as that happens, that's a taste changer. That's a taste maker. So anybody who can afford to buy a commercial rug is certainly going to do it. And it becomes way more affordable when they're being produced in this country. So, of course, that is a game changer. And it doesn't mean, as we know, that people will not continue to, particularly in rural areas, make handmade rugs. But it does mean that with the American Industrial Revolution, the economy is kind of booming, right? Not just the barons of industry who are the sort of chiefs of each of these new industries, right? Coal, railroad, everything. But everybody else is getting employed. Whether they're going to die at work or not is probable, questionable, and another sad commentary on history. But, you know, things are moving and chugging along, and a lot more people than ever before can afford to buy these commercial products. And when that happens, after the American Industrial Revolution, and then again after the First and Second World Wars, these are like markers, like bookends, because when these historic sort of momentous pendulum swings take place, tastes change, right? People go, yeah, oh no, forget about me sitting in the dark with a candle with something on my lap, and all this wool flying all over the place. I don't feel that way, as you know. But you could see how somebody would who's already put in an 18-hour day. Like, it would be very feasible to think of them saying, hey, if we can afford to get a carpet, let's just get a carpet. I am done with crafts and hobbies, right? I am a woman of leisure to such an extent as I can afford to be, right? So things will change, and it changes the story for us, because at this point, particularly in the 19th century, with the advent of the American Industrial Revolution and with all the new industries, and certainly with textiles being something that becomes so strong, at least in New England, not just like the Lowell mills and all the girls that work in the fiber mills and the woolen mills and all those big, big, big machines. Besides that, so many people just in more remote areas are continuing to do the work of these giant machines that move and sound like locomotives. People will still continue to do it on their laps, but the people who now have switched over to commercial carpets are very likely to throw out the souvenirs, the unwanted souvenirs of the days when they had to do it too. So you've got all these beautiful rugs sitting around and you don't need them anymore because you got a bigger carpet now. The chances are, as many people did, you throw them out. Sometimes put them in the attic, sometimes just throw them out. And that's our problem, isn't it, with scarcity and being able to track the craft of rug making, whether you're doing it with a hook or a needle or a punch or a shuttle or whatever, anything non-loomed, right? It's been very hard historically to pin it down to dates and times and places because of scarcity, right, and misinformation. So I think I might stop there. I keep wishing that we would get to this matting chapter, but we had to start the episode today with Ellen. I might actually skip over the matting chapter because I won't be on tomorrow. And then on Friday, as you know, we're running our bingo. So we're going to come back to this on Monday. And no, let's not skip it. There's some beautiful stuff in here that looks just like rug hooking, but it's done with like corn husks. So I don't want to miss it. It's too good. Oh, this matting. Yeah, let's talk about this next week. This reminds I'm not going to start. Don't start, because if I start it's going to be another 20 minutes. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for this. There's a lot of crossover for us with matting and rug making, right? It's essentially the same thing with just a different material. And as we know, we can hook with just about anything that'll go through our backing. So interesting. Okay, so I won't be with you tomorrow, but I will be with you on Friday, and I hope that you get your bingo cards sorted out and printed out. If you get bingo cards and you're not able to join us live on Friday, it is okay. You know that you will be notified for sure with a code, so you can go into the ribbon candy hooking store and you can buy something immediately, a kit, plain wool, colored wool, plain door wool if you want to dye yourself, tools, whatever. Oh God, I got to get those frames in there too. I've got to get the frames and the stools in there too. The woman locally whose husband's making them, I got to get those in there. My word. But in any case, there's lots of things to buy in the store. So even if you don't want to buy a kit or one of my designs, you can buy stuff that you will certainly use if you are a bingo winner, and I hope that you are, of course. I will see you on Friday. And in the meantime, have a great Thursday. And if you need me, you know you can find me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. You just got your bingo cards. Great. Catherine says, I have a painted floor, but it's not good when you drop a cell phone. You're right. You're right, Catherine. That is like one of the great punchlines, isn't it? When you have a beautiful, expensive phone and you drop it and the screen cracks multiple times in 1 year. Yeah, it's one of these crazy modern time things, right? I got those crazy, like they're like $60 each, or maybe even more. Those big bumpers that go on the kids' phones, um, because I'm tired of them having cracked screens, and I don't want them looking through the cracks because I feel like that can't be good for your eyes if you're looking through cracks. But I'm very happy for them to have the phones because I feel like it's a good safety thing and it keeps them busy. I'm not that much of a helicopter mom with stuff like that because I know I spent my as much as my childhood as I could in the basement playing Atari, and nothing happened, right? Nothing really happened. So it's all good. But those phones are a nuisance. But they do keep us connected, don't they? It's like the yin and the yang. Remember the mandala class that's coming up, the Klimt class, the bingo cards, and the Christmas crackers. All of those things are there for you. If you need me, I will be around tomorrow, but otherwise, I will see you on Friday night for a live show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our holiday themed bingo night Friday. See you then.